So it is 6:14 on Thursday, September 30th, and I'm going to call. I'm calling the Finance Committee meeting to order. All right, you don't have a quorum, do you?
I do not have a quorum, so.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna jump around just a bit. We're gonna go through, since Pete is here, we're gonna go through these bylaw discussion first and foremost. Everybody's acceptable to that? So that Anita, who is on the meeting, could maybe, sit on her couch and enjoy some of her evening. Okay. So does anybody want to start, or do we just want to?
However you like to do it.
Okay. Well, the first.
You see, start talking about this, what the questions are. Yeah, I have a general overall question.
Good.
So can you give us an explanation of what is obviously I understand you're trying to update the bylaw, I understand that. And there's gotta be a few things in there changed, but what's the general overall direction or thrust that you're trying to go in with this bylaw?
It's actually mostly to, I don't want to say this. We want to make sure that the entire body of bylaws is consistent. And so this bylaw, one of the sets of changes was around the budget process being basically a triumvirate between the Finance Committee, the Town Administrator, and the CIPC specifically for capital. But among the three of you groups that you all need to collectively make the budget. When we go over things, you can see specifically the things we removed and why we removed them, and we can even talk about the things we added. But I mean, there's the core intent is align with MGL and express this group as one part of the budget making process and budget review, I guess I should say, process.
Okay, because again, my comment would be on that is, it seems to me, when I read through everything, it just seems to me there was less things in there taken out than what need to be changed, and it seems to be more of a direction of the select board being more in control of what's happening. Where the finance board, from my viewpoint, what I understand, is supposed to be an entity that represents the taxpayers as an independent kind of a group. Not 100%, but you know what I'm saying, from an independent standpoint. And I believe that most of the bylaw that's in there and has been in there for a while is intact, and it's the way it should be. I mean, I can understand adding or changing a few of the things, but I think most of what's there should stay there.
Tommy, tuck in.
Oh, sure.
Please.
Watch out for my cord, please.
Most of the things that I can think of off the top of my head that were removed were things that make bad bylaw. A good bylaw says what to do, not how to do it. So all the business about add a column, do this, add that, that's all how. None of that is what needs to be done. And that's why that sections, that region of text was removed.
Well, if you don't leave some of that stuff in there, then as the years go by, people say, well, we change, everything moves around, and then some things don't get done. I think it was in there to be consistent and to be a way to present this every year. But that's my 2 cents about what you just said. So if we go through it, I'm sure you can explain it, and
I'll do my best.
Okay. Article 1, General Provisions. Appointed Committees, Chapter 2, Article 2, Appointed Committees.
Appointed committees, yes.
That's an issue. Members shall be appointed by the Select Board. We are not. We are appointed by the moderator, and we are ratified by the Board of Selectmen.
And this is one of the ways that laws work. This is the general case, your specific cases and your specific bylaw. So anything that's expressed differently in your bylaw supersedes whatever is in this general bylaw. That's removal, I apologize on that.
okay, Karen, give me, what was that number again?
No, Article 2,
Article
page
2.
5. Article 2, Appointed Committees. section 3.
3.
So this is, we're writing this down, but you gotta read through everything else to see if it really applies.
Right, because any committee that has different constraints would have that expressed in their own bylaw.
So then that sentence should say, appointed by the select board unless otherwise specifically spelled out in another bylaw.
Well, that's.
So it's clear.
I
No,
know.
to you it is because you're writing it, but to somebody that reads this 3 years from now, they're gonna say, well, it says the selectmen appoint them, but everything I've ever read, and when it's not always exactly that, it has an exception to it.
We will, let me just.
You can do whatever.
Find my cursor, no, let me find my cursor, I'll take a note.
We're here to discuss this and point things out.
The following shall apply to all appointed committees unless otherwise specified by the Massachusetts general laws or the town's general bylaws. It says it right above it.
But did
Right
it?
there.
Sorry, section 3.
Okay.
That's what it already says. Now,
Okay, I missed that.
if it's not clear, that's okay. We can talk about rewording it if it needs to be. I'm not here to put up a huge fight for anything.
Okay, I missed that when I was reading.
Yes, sir. Oh, and I forgot, I'm sorry, Pete, I didn't share, and you too, Anita. Just a second. If I can find my cursor. There we are. Share screen. All right, now they're seeing this also.
The only other thing I have is on section 5 of appointed committees. Committee member removal.
Yes.
Any committee member may be removed for cause by majority vote of the appointing authority. So that would mean for us, it would be the moderator.
Yes, and I know exactly where you're going, and how about we save the moderator versus select board for when we get to that in your bylaw, but yes, that is what this says.
Okay, because then it said something later on that says that he doesn't have a vote. The moderator doesn't have a vote when you're trying to take that.
Yeah, we'll go over that whole thing, and we'll talk about why it's written that way philosophically, and then if your committee disagrees with that strongly enough, we will strike it, and it will just be the moderator.
Okay. Okay. So on Town Administrator, Chapter 2, Article 3, Letter E, number 1A, or number 1, excuse me.
I'm sorry, so what's the context again?
Chapter 2,
Yeah.
Article 3, Town Administrator, letter E, number 1,
There's got to be a section before that for me to find your context.
page 18.
That, I don't have those pages.
Duties and responsibilities.
There we go.
Page 18. you
There
said?
it is. I think
Yeah.
I found exactly what you're looking for. The town administrator shall be the chief financial officer and runs the town.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Shall create the town's balanced annual operating and capital budgets. Because we did not, we never received a balanced budget. And that is, if we're going to do this, that is the job of the town administrator to send us a balanced budget.
Sue, can I come in here? So, it's an interesting thing to talk about, because we've got to talk about reality of the budget situation in order to apply that. So, in the 25 years I've been doing this, I've always presented a balanced budget. In Rutland, though, when I came here, I was told that we had to use the school number as presented by the school committee in the budget, which I don't think is true anymore.
Right.
But that's what I was told as
Right.
part of the contract. We have to propose it on the floor of town meeting, but we don't have to put it in the budget as proposed, okay? That's not the way it was kind of said to me.
Right.
Plus so that was, if you remember correctly, that was a $961,000 increase.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we had a deficit, essentially a free cash use of 405. So that put me $1.3 million in the hole before we even started talking about the budget, right? So I found it under the set of rules that were given to me that there was any possible way without just destroying town departments completely in presenting a balanced budget. Now, however, looking at what I'm going to do this year, at least my intention, because I don't think it's true, and in really studying the school agreement, yes, we have to present it, but no, it doesn't have to be in the budget. So my process this year will be, we're gonna put in an amount in the school line that is not what the school budget asks for, but what we can afford or what is reasonable. And present the balanced budget to both the, hopefully, I'm assuming we'll be able to present the balanced budget with that number instead of the crazy 961. And now the free cash is down to about 130 grand by the time we're done. I think we're gonna be in a much better position to present the balanced budget than we did last time. Now, that's still not gonna change the fact that when we go to town meeting, if they pass the school number and not our number, we're still gonna have to go back and figure out cuts, but we're surely not gonna go through the process we did last year of destroying all the departments up front like we did and giving money back. That was, in my mind, an insane process. Now, I don't know that you need to put it in there. I'm not even sure if it would be a good thing, because if I was to present the balanced budget last year, we would have started with literally a disastrous town budget. I would have had to lay off half the freaking staff. So I'm not sure that you want that in there,
But Ron,
given what we did.
the select board that was present last year, had to go through that exercise to get to that point. And it is something that I know the finance committee took a lot of flack for.
Well, so did I. I mean, we were in it together.
But it was like we were doing, that isn't something that the finance committee should have to be making those decisions in order to get to the point where we're gonna.
So it's interesting to hear that, because I'll be blunt. All I heard last year at the beginning of this process is this is the finance board budget. Give them a budget and we're gonna do kind of what we want with the budget. That was the way it was delivered to me. In fact, I was told that, present the high budget and then the finance committee would cut department budgets. And actually, people were mad at me because I cut the town department budgets before it even came to you guys. And I took heat for not giving you the big number. The budget would be even more out of whack if I did that, right? So, I think at the end of the day, like it or not, the town administrator and the board of selectmen, be it me or anybody else, are in this together. And we're gonna have to come out to
The board
a
of
consensus,
selectmen.
because the responsibility at the end of the day is that the finance committee, working with the town administrator, has to present a balanced budget at town meeting. That's where the budget has to be balanced when we make that presentation to town meeting. That's where that has to be done. I'm not sure, for instance, if, let's say I leave and you have a new town administrator, I'm not sure you would want a town administrator just going to start hacking away all the departments without any discussion of the finance committee before the budget even came to you. Would you have wanted a budget with every department, all kinds of staff cut before it even came to you? Because that's what you would have been asking me to do. I'm not sure that you would want that. As a matter of fact, you were upset that you didn't get to hear from the department heads what their requests were.
That's the reason why we meet with them, and that is part of the process.
But you want me, so you would have preferred, just let's be clear here, you would prefer that I went in and cut all kinds of staff before it even came to you and presented you a budget that eliminated God knows how many people in the budget before it even came to you? Or do you think we should do that together?
Remember when you said to me that you didn't understand why in the past we had so many iterations of the budget? That's the reason why, because this is what it came in at. This is what we had to cut in order to get there. This is what we had to cut to go here. This is what we had to, so that's why we had so many iterations. And yes, it is all delivered to us so we can understand the needs budget and all of that kind of stuff, because the fact is, that is something that we have to know. Yes, we are hampered by the amount of money that we get, but
I'm just saying to you, if I were to do what you're suggesting now, that you guys would get a budget that had all kinds of cuts that would have been devastating to the town, and God forbid if you get, like I was, new, coming in, you're having a brand new administrator, destroying all the town budgets with no input of the finance committee, I just think that's really should be something that's worked together by both.
and I'm in agreement. But then what it is here's what came in. Here's what I did to get here. Here's what I did to get here. Here's where I did to, and then we work to say, that's not really practical, we're gonna need this. That's where we get involved.
We're gonna go through the same iterations, just backwards. It's the same process. mean, I don't care,
Go ahead.
but I'm just saying it's the same.
I understand 100% what you're saying, but I think it's come different ways every year. I've been doing these budgets for a long, long time in Rutland, and every year it's a little different, depends on who's there. It's presented one way, it's presented another way. I've made budgets where they said, you weren't supposed to come in with numbers higher than what we told you to. And I said, if I don't tell you what I really need, and show you where I'm gonna have to cut, how are you gonna know what we actually need? If
Like
I
I said,
keep coming in with a level funded budget or a level maintenance budget, you're never gonna know what we really need. So that happened a lot of times. All those things you just said, all depends who's been there. It's been all different
But as I
ways.
said, I came in effectively with a level funded budget on the town side.
No,
That's
I
what
understand
came
what you're
into.
saying. I think what
you know.
Karen is saying is right too. It just-
So to me, I just think that the process is better where, you know, we all try to work together and make these cuts. And truthfully, out of that million plus in cuts, I gave you all but 250 grand. And 250 grand at the end of the day was the nasty cuts that we had to make, the real staff cuts, and that's the two. But all the other cuts I recommended. So I get it. All I'm suggesting here, and frankly, if you put it in a technical world, all that does though is it makes the town administrator make cuts before it ever comes to you, and I am not convinced that that really would be what the finance board would want. You want to see the dictate, you want to see what's going on.
Right, no, I understand what you're
I think you
saying.
should
I'm
put it
not
in
saying
there,
that
yeah.
either one of those is right or wrong.
And truthfully, another time-
It's a process, is right.
Yeah, in another town, I probably would have a different opinion, because I think on principle, like I said, 25 years, I've always presented a balanced budget. It's a damn school system agreement that makes that disastrous and impossible.
But going back to the school for a second too, we asked, this is quite a few years ago, because the finance board would present the budget at the number that the town thought we could afford. And
That's
when we
what
were told, we found out, and my understanding of it way back then was, we only have to make sure that, not make sure, we're supposed to tell the townspeople what they did ask for. It doesn't have to be presented, we can come up with a different number.
So
But-
I'll say this to you, and again, this is early, and I'd like to, I don't want to get too deep in this, but I've been meeting with the town managers and selectmen from all the towns. And I think we are coming to an agreement that we are not just going to start with their number, we are going to put in, every town is going to put in the number they think we can afford and move in that direction, which is a different tactic. Now, at the end of the day, how it all plays out, because you know the school's going to put through the maximum they think they can get. So it's a different strategy, but truthfully, we're not gonna know until it all plays out, how this is gonna work, but I'm just suggesting that either way it is gonna be dysfunctional, the way the school district agreement's set up. It's just a dysfunctional process, and I wish we could change that district agreement, but I don't know how to do that, but. Anyway, that's my suggestion here. I don't wanna debate this with it, but that's the problem with that word.
I think
It's gonna-
the only thing is, and can you just look at Pete? Because Pete brought it up that none of us that were here last year having to go through those personnel cuts wants to have to go through that again.
That's-
Because those were the painful cuts, but that isn't something that we should have had more dialogue. We actually were going through and making those cuts on our own. There was no dialogue. It was, this is what we have to do, and that's where we were at. Because, and that's not really
So.
what we should be
So
doing. It
here's
should
what-
be with,
Here's
it
what the
should be.
plan was, the way we were gonna do this though, and the way I was told specifically. I was gonna present the budget, we were gonna go through the department head budgets with department heads first.
Yep.
We were gonna listen to what they wanted to.
Yep.
Then we were gonna call the department heads back in a second round and make cuts.
Mm-hmm.
That was the way I was told. Then it got to be at the end of the first round, so well, town administrator, you go with the department heads and you do another round with them and you make the cuts with them.
No.
That was what it was told.
That is not what we said, and I'm not, what was said is, do you have any recommendations for us? Because that in the past has been what we have received.
Did you or did you not tell me though that the second round of cuts, the finance board was gonna meet with all department heads in the second round?
And that's exactly,
Did that happen?
until we got to the point where it was so bad, we had no choice in order to make the May 5th date.
That's because.
We
and I
didn't have a
suggest-
choice.
And the truth is, that's why I said in the first place that we should do one round and do the cuts in the first round. That was why I suggested that.
The thing is that we are responsible for hearing what the department heads need.
Just we don't have the
I mean,
time frame.
I'm just reading from the finance committee handbook that the state puts out, and it's our job to listen. We can't just make willy-nilly dollar cuts, because we have to understand what those dollar cuts will do. Because $50 to the council on aging means a lot more than $50 to the DPW or the fire chief. We have to know what these cuts mean. It's not just taking dollars and cents out. Then it would have been very easy. We could have just gone down and taken everybody's salary out and not worried about it.
I'm happy to sit up front and work on the process with you and make this better, because I thought the process last year stunk, to be honest with you. I thought it was horrible for me, it was horrible for you. I don't wanna go through that process like we did last year, it was a nightmare in my opinion. So we do need to talk about that in front of the budget process about how we're gonna do this, because the iteration went through, it got so
We're
bad, it was
probably
hard to
late
follow through the iterations.
Huh?
We're probably late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that if we're going to do this, we need to have numbers, and we probably need to start sooner than later, unfortunately. And nobody
I can
wants to
start
do
the
it.
budget process earlier, I don't have a problem.
Well, I think we're gonna have to, we can't wait till March, we're gonna have
I
to,
know.
March was really late, I think January 1st is too early, but.
Well, I think I can, I'm happy to start
Or you
earlier.
can make it real easy, and we just wait for the school number to come out, and then we tell everybody, here's what's left, so you can spend.
Truthfully, I'm at a point where I don't care what the school number comes out as. We're gonna put in the numbers we think, and the school
Still
number,
gotta
we're
pass
just
it on
gonna beat
the
them down,
floor.
and we're gonna fight with them, but we're gonna put in what we can afford, and put that number we can afford to town meeting, and not play this game that they wanna play with us.
You still
But
gotta-
anyway.
Still
I don't
gotta
wanna
pass it on the
myself on
floor.
that, But that's more discussion for another night.
So. Okay.
So Anita, please add town admin to next agenda, please. She's muted, but I'm sure she heard us.
Yes.
Okay, next.
I'm sorry, Peter, you were muffled. I missed it.
I'm sorry, I just said please add
Town
town admin to the next bylaw agenda.
Will do.
Thank you, and may as well add FinCom now.
Okay, FinCom and town
Right.
admin.
Next.
Okay, now, the only thing I've got now, it's all the finance committee guys. I just wanna make sure, cause I read through everything.
Anybody else have anything else on the other articles, bylaws, whatever you wish to call them?
Okay, member removal, this is the piece that needs to be changed. The select board shall have the responsibilities ascribed to the appointing authority in the removal proceedings. They're not our appointing authority.
That is true. So this was the committee's, the bylaw committee's thinking. Is it better to have the decision made by a single person or by a group of people? And it was our belief that it's better to be done by a group and not by an individual.
Which is fine, except why does the moderator who appoints us not have a vote in the removal?
Ah, that's a very good question, because we didn't want an even number of votes. Which is, I know, at this instant, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, but that's my whole thing. The person who appoints us, why wouldn't they have a vote?
As I said, it's
the
an even
removal.
number of people prevents ties, but that, again, this was our thinking.
So 4 out of the selectmen can vote and town, you know. I mean, you can say it like that, only 4 can vote, you know.
Then you have a problem of selecting the 4.
Yeah, I guess,
So
but
which number are you back onto right
She-
now?
she-
member
down on that
removal on
member
finance
removal.
committee,
What page?
page 27.
Oh, 27.
Is there another group that's only a single person that you could add to the voting?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, I mean, the truth is,
Town administrator.
the odds of there being a tie, the reality is that the odds of there being a tie are probably not very high. And so adding the town moderator, so that instead it's not that the select board It's a joint committee of the select board and the town moderator, I think is where you're going. So that way the town moderator also has a vote.
But if it's a tie, that just means that the person isn't
It
removed.
isn't removed, exactly, and I still think that that's, I think it's unlikely that something got to this point in the process that there would be a tie. So that's easy enough to do.
So if that, I mean, adding the town administrator would be probably the best way to get around a tie then.
No, or you just say you do the select board and the town moderator, and if there's a tie vote, then it doesn't pass.
Right.
That's all, it just doesn't pass. It's no different than when you have, 4 members at a meeting and 2 and 2, it just means it doesn't pass.
Okay.
So you're talking about finance board removal?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just confused. Why would the finance board vote to remove the member? Why do you have the select board voting to?
There is no way to remove a member today, and the way it's done, the
But there's
provision.
the board, the select board does it, but here, so
you're saying we would-
don't remove members, you're right.
We had this conversation last year.
So what's in the current bylaw, it just says if somebody doesn't attend 5 does it say 5?
Yep,
Yeah, 5 consecutive meetings
except in the
shall
case
be
of
deemed
illness.
vacant. So that
Yep.
just means they're not, but that hasn't happened in the past.
Yes, it has. Happened last fiscal year, excuse me.
No,
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it most certainly did. Ian missed 5 meetings, and therefore his position was considered vacant.
At the annual town meeting, it was filled. After the annual town meeting, it wasn't filled in the meantime. We would have voted on it.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is he was no longer a member, so he couldn't miss more than 5 meetings and then just jump in and say he's gonna be on the committee. At that
I
point, he
understand what you're
was
saying, but what I'm saying, it didn't happen. It didn't happen, didn't get filled until the regular appointment period, so. At any rate.
It could have been filled at any time.
And
The
why,
finance authority
so
could have
why
appointed
is
somebody
this, why is there a concern now, after all these years of somebody being discarded from a volunteer board that's,
The notion
has
of
other
that-
things happened to other places that people wanted to get rid of people? or-
I only know that it was discussed with me a couple times over the past year about having the ability to remove a member of a committee. Because today there is no way to do it.
Which is definitely a necessary thing. Coming from a workplace of committees, I would love to get rid of some people.
Oh, yeah, but I think that's a word, this is a
No, I know, I'm
town-
just saying,
volunteer people and,
there's always a place to be able to remove somebody who is ineffective or potentially toxic towards an environment. There's always a good time where that's a positive thing, and if there's a way to do that, it can only help.
I mean, in an extreme,
Yeah.
completely fictitious example, if, I'm just gonna pick on Concom because I'm the chair, so I can pick on us. If we had discovered that a member were in fact corrupt and taking payments, yes, it's illegal, but we couldn't kick him off the commission.
Yeah.
We don't have any way to do it, there's no facility for it. He could be arrested and put in jail, but that doesn't change his residence or his voting status, so he's still on the commission.
The board of selectmen couldn't remove him?
No. There is no provision in our bylaws for member removal from a committee.
Really?
Really.
Okay, that's a mistake.
Well, see, that's what we did.
and there's no provision in the state laws or any of that.
Chapter 1, Article 2.
I don't have that
That's not
sheet.
Chapter 1, Article 2.
Usually it's done by the
No,
appointing
that's
authority
this
to remove a
document.
member. That's how it's usually done.
That's what I was just wondering, that's
Yeah.
this document.
Where is Chapter 1, Article 2, Section 5? Members shall be removed for cause following the process
Right,
defined in Chapter 1.
we just added that. We, the bylaw committee, that's not
So
in the current
page
bylaw.
6,
So where is that in these ones that you gave me? Is that the one where it says committee appointments and terms?
Yeah, it's below that. After committee appointment and term is registered voter requirement, which is actually was all that was in there before, and then committee member removal.
Right. So,
So, in the current general provisions bylaw, or actually in the current membership requirement bylaw, there is no facility to remove anywhere in our bylaws.
okay, so my concern is you're referring to Chapter 1, Article 2, Section 5, but Article 1, da, 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 doesn't say anything about the moderator. So in that case, any committee member may be removed for cause by a majority vote of the appointing authority. The appointing authority is the moderator for us, and therefore, he's the one that would be removing us. And then you're saying the town moderator doesn't even have a vote.
Well, as we just said, we're gonna change that
Right.
to be
I'm just saying.
committee composed of the select board and the town moderator, then so
Is the,
6B ascribes the authority elsewhere than just the town moderator.
The funny part of it is if the select board took somebody off, the moderator could reappoint if he chose to.
No, the moderator can't. Not until the next town meeting.
Or they can only do the appointment at the town meeting.
Town meeting is the only time town moderator can appoint. However, if the select board were to remove them, the finance committee can put them right back on again.
Yeah.
There's no way to stop that, with the way the bylaws are structured. I'm not saying it should be. I think we're in the so far removed
Yes.
from the likelihood that I'm not right. I don't intend to write that.
Yes, there is that potential, but, okay, so, all right.
but what you're saying is that number A right there,
Yeah,
well, up in number 5,
In
is
the-
not accurate because it doesn't match what it says later on in the document.
In
And
later
it's
on,
You're gonna
Contradictory.
fix that. Is that what you just said?
I just said I'm
yeah, it's gonna change
changing.
it. Well, you can't change it, you have to bring it to your committee for change.
Correct. So,
So in fact, C would go away completely.
So we could write something there that we might want to suggest to put in there that maybe refers to action by the committee and the moderator as the appointing person.
Right. A joint committee composed of the select board and the town moderator shall have the responsibility to describe to the appointing authority in the removal proceeding, per chapter 1, article 2, section 5.
Okay,
Oh,
forgive me for being
that's okay.
confused by all these paragraphs. So
Yeah,
where
it's-
is this number 6 one here? This,
So this is in the finance committee bylaw.
oh,
It's on page 27.
right there.
Letter A is on page 5. 6.
Yep. So this is under chapter 3, article 3, 6, that's what you're looking at right
Yes.
there?
Yes.
Okay, but on here, that's different from what's here then?
It is now a little different, because I've deleted C completely. And then I've just changed B to say a joint committee of the select board and the town moderator shall.
Okay, so the only other question I have is, why do we have to vote when somebody misses 5 meetings? Is there a reason?
That
for
was a request put in by this committee, I believe by Tom. The one we discussed this months ago with the previous iteration. We did go over this once before.
We did.
And I remember, I was thinking it was Tom, but I could be wrong about that. But I remember being asked specifically to add a provision that it's removal upon vote, and not just the 5 absences.
I remember saying that it had to be, I remember saying except in the case of illness, because
Yeah.
if you've got major illness, then you might have to miss 5 in a row. If you've had
Well, that
major
was one,
surgery.
and what my concern there was the illness part of it, but also maybe there may be other extenuating circumstances that cause that person not to be there for a period of time, that if we discussed it, we would vote. I don't know if I said we would, but anyway, that's a general,
Whatever, yeah.
correct.
Okay,
I did say that.
That was the request, we put it in.
okay.
And what number is that?
This has got.
It's letter B, page 26. Was it always that we couldn't have a member of the town, an employee of the town on the committee, or is that new? Nope, that was always there, okay. So, this committee, we're not allowed to serve on any other committees. Where does that, it's stated here?
It actually says it in 2, no town official or employee. Why does it say it? Because in, where is the general provisions bylaw, which is the really very first thing that you'll ever see.
Yeah.
A definition of town official is any town officer, employee, or member of a committee, whether elected or appointed. So this is one of those awful things about I get it, the definition of town official is not very near its use. I understand that, but town official is used throughout the bylaws. So that's why we define it in general provisions.
This says, no town official or employee shall be eligible to serve on the
It's true, we don't
committee.
even have to say any employee anymore.
This says on the committee. I'm saying that I can't serve on the planning board because I sit on this board. Unless there's something
it's-
different. I've always been told that once you sit on this committee, while you're here on this committee, we
That's right.
can't sit
You
on
can't
any
sit on
other.
any other board, that's right.
So where does that say that?
I think it says it right there, no town official, it does say no member of any other board shall be eligible to serve on the committee, which means that if you were to be elected to the planning board, you would become ineligible to serve on this committee.
Okay.
If you were to be appointed by the select board to serve on, I'm gonna just pick on Concom again, Concom, you would be ineligible to serve on this committee.
Okay.
And one would think
How
there,
about the 300th committee?
that's a town committee.
Okay, so that's how, okay, I don't think it's as clear as it could be, but that's just me.
No, it's not clear, because sometimes there have been times, I should say, in the past where there's been like a building committee or some kind of a committee where you've had a member of the select board, people at large, plus somebody from the finance committee on this, whatever this committee is to do something. An example would be the 300th
That should be a
anniversary.
Yeah, but that's separate, because you're serving as a finance
No,
committee.
no, I
on the
understand
board.
what you're saying, but
Right.
I know in the past there's been some that, I don't have a specific example right now.
Because,
Actually, you wanna know where you can serve? School committee.
yes. And you can see all of our hands going straight up. to-
Oh, I know, that's, everybody would want to, right? Because the school committee's not a town body, it is a regional body.
So I would say anytime there's something that needs to be done as like the economic, whatever that committee is, that could potentially be a subcommittee or something of that nature, that other committees could be on that committee and a subcommittee. So there should be, if there are separate committees or committees that are different, it should be denoted as such. And it would be
Only if
simplified.
it's as a representative of the finance committee can you serve on those.
And I'm saying if there's something, as you're saying, that there are instances where that should happen or could happen, it could be just called a subcommittee as opposed to a committee, and therefore it would bypass that.
Right. Just as long as it says a member of the finance committee is serving and you're the representative, then that's how you get around it. But,
And I guess to your point that it's happened in the past, it probably shouldn't have happened, and therefore this is now stating it shouldn't happen.
no, it's the same thing. What he's saying is like the building thing is it's a member of the select board, a member of the finance committee, and so that's the person that's the
Yeah.
representative. That's the thing. You're not serving in a different way. You're serving as a finance committee representative on that committee.
Gotcha.
And make it even more clear if the FinCom member were not a voting member.
Yeah, that could be too, right?
I mean, that's
But things are
that's
evolving.
pretty darn
We got
clear.
more and more people that
Right.
are doing town things, and we do have a town administrator now, and this is back when he didn't have that, so. Yeah, okay,
I think it's clear as stated.
yep.
Anything else? Karen's been driving this most of the time. I'm sure there are more comments.
Well, we had talked about it at the last committee meeting, and I think we had brought everything, and I think Karen probably summarized everything, so I think that's probably why.
I know, I would say we should see the next iteration and see, because it doesn't really state what our job is per se. We don't just make, we do bring the budget to the town, we're the ones that make it does say we make the recommendations at the town meeting.
It's very generic.
Yeah, it's very generic, it's not very specific as to,
I think Pete had some pretty good, his things that he sent back to us, but reiterate a lot of the things that are in the current bylaw,
Right.
which are not in here now, which I think should still stay in there. And I guess I'm not ready to give you any kind of written information based on what I'm thinking should still be in there from the old one. Because I wanted to see what we had to say tonight to talk about it and go over all these.
Isn't the what our job is pretty much outlined by the state law and the group of finance committees, or what is the?
well, I agree, except for the fact that to an average person who might want to sit on this committee, you go to read to see what they're doing, and it doesn't say that we have control over the reserve fund. It doesn't say that, we have complete control over the reserve fund. I don't think that says that in here.
What does that mean? If the department brought a request for a transfer from reserve fund to their department, do they first go to the Board of Selectmen, or does it just come to you guys?
The reserve fund is only finance committee.
Really?
And isn't that an MGL?
I couldn't tell you, because
I think
if
it
you
is.
think I'm gonna read MGL in my spare time, you are sadly mistaken.
But I think they go to the select board first to
That's
go
usually if
over.
it happens.
They
at
do
the
not.
times, that's why I'm
Right.
surprised
Reserve
by
funds
that.
do not. Transfers go to the select board and
No,
us.
the reserve
It isn't.
fund ones go to the selectmen for them to go over them, then they come to us for review and for sign off.
That's what happens in other towns, but I don't know if there's something else new.
I'm not gonna argue with
There's
you.
no
No,
bylaw
I'm
that
not
you
gonna
know, Karen?
argue.
That's not the
I'm
case.
I'm
They
just
come to us.
making a statement.
We have ultimate control over.
I'm not saying
the
that's
reserve
not
fund.
true.
The select board does not, they might be apprised of it, but they do not need to see it, that someone come to us without ever going to the select board. And I know we have in the past only seen them, and the select board hasn't seen them.
So you don't know if there's a bylaw or something, where that comes from, you don't know.
And does that make any sense without going from the department head, going from, if they need a reserve fund transfer, without going to the town administrator and the select board before it comes to us? I understand what you're saying, but
It's-
I don't think that's a practical approach.
I don't know, because the thing is that at any time, a department head can come to us and ask for the reserve fund. They don't have to go through the town administrator, or back in the day when we didn't have one, the town
To number
administrator.
two.
Must be a reason. I'll look and see what the reason is. Maybe there's a
I don't
state
ever
statute.
remember
or
that
something.
happening.
Sorry, wrong.
Ever.
It could be, I just don't know
I
myself.
don't ever remember it happening.
I don't know where it would come from. It could be state statute is what she's playing, but usually that kind of thing is defined in a charter, but we don't have a charter or bylaws, so I don't know, she can't be just it's something from state statute, I just don't
This
know.
particular section doesn't say anything. It just gives the town authority to write the bylaw to create a finance committee.
Right.
That's
It'd
all.
still be, it'd still
That's
be
all
my
that
department
3916 does.
probably coming to you
But-
guys making a request for a transfer or an expense from things, so it would come from my department, because that's where the emergency would occur.
Okay, so Karen, leave it to the bylaw committee to look in an MGL as it comes to reserve fund.
Please.
And
Well, might there be the need for a line in here that says the duties of the finance committee are per whatever the MGL is that establishes and says what a finance.
yeah, that's
Committee
actually a
does.
very good idea. So that we would say everything that's there plus.
Right.
Well, we should look at that, because that may put things in there we may not want in there too. That's the bad part of doing that. That's why you have a town bylaw, because this is what you go by first. Those, sometimes, unless it's referenced, then that is a recommendation.
You're correct. correct. So the local
Right.
bylaw, when you put in a bylaw, a lot of local bylaws, because of home rule, supersede state law. State law is there if there is no bylaw.
Right.
So,
Correct.
so that's what he's saying. So if you put it in, let's assume we had a charter. If it was in a charter, then that local charter would take precedence.
charter takes-
Or
right.
if you had a bylaw, that would take precedence over state law. And there are certain things state law will supersede, but not in this
Right.
case.
And it may be, with the state, I'm sure the state law is probably more pages than this that would.
No, but
Can't
I'm
understand
thinking
all of
what
it.
you're saying is just referencing finance committee is MGL such and such in the, so that anyone who might want to sit on here and might want to.
Could learn what all the duties, yep, I
Yeah.
can understand that, yep.
I think that we need to find out the answer to her question. I think it's an
Yep.
important question.
It is.
So we'll do that research and we'll come up with something to write for both, and in fact, let me just throw up front.
The sad part is, well, we're talking about 25 grand, it's nickels and dimes.
Can you print that out and get it to us too? I hate reading it on the screen.
I understand that, too.
I can give it to you at one of our next meetings for you to upload. I do have the town finance committee, the role of the finance committee from the Association of Town Finance Committees. It might give you some.
That would be really good too. You know, as I think about it, I do wish I had had that. I heard about it after we had done so much of this, and we should have looked at that first, because that's great guidance in the same way that AG's office is guidance for other
So, yeah,
things. It's
so,
They have the same handbook for selectmen too, you know. The selectmen have the same kind of handbook she suggested. So
Oh.
you can get it for selectmen too.
this one, I find it to be very helpful.
Sure.
As it comes in, it gives you a lot of the things of how it is, so. So, I guess once you rewrite it, we'll schedule another meeting.
Is there anything else specific that people are looking for that isn't here? That's the first question I'd like to make sure I get. Because the second question is, what did we delete that you don't like? Because I've heard a couple things about it, but I want to talk about them more in depth than that. So let's,
The thing, well, I guess the whole number 2 section's in here, like was said several times. Warrant articles talks about, and it talks about duties, but I can't give you based on what, some of this stuff is in here, and I just think more of this that's already here should stay in
Is
there.
that what you're talking about?
And you have some of this, some of this in there.
Yes, but you can't email it, it's
Some
too
of it-
big.
we did try to.
I can't give you an answer right now,
Okay,
I guess.
all right.
That's the
that's
reason
fine.
why we had to put it on the Google Drive, because we got it to Pete, and he put it on. I tried emailing it, it doesn't email.
And see, that's why I referenced earlier, Peter did come up with some of these things, the same thing I was thinking, that of these should be stay in there. He did, I don't know if you saw those or not.
I have not seen them, no.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go over this starting this week. The bylaw committee will go over this starting this week, and we will work on it, and we will send you a new one when it's done. Do I need to send, because we didn't change it. Yes, we changed other things, but do you need new versions of the other bylaws, or is just sending FinCom enough?
When you say other, what those,
So like this time I sent the general provisions and the town admin and appointed committees.
right?
I'd like to see them all.
Like to
sorry.
see 'em all?
I'd like to
That's
see
okay.
them all, that way I have it all together from what we had this meeting to the next meeting. I know I'm a nuisance,
No,
but I like to
it's-
read through it. just
It's
to see.
okay. I asked the question not
Yep.
because I want to hear a specific answer.
Yeah.
Now, I will also tell you, you're actually one of the first groups to hear this. We will be, the bylaw committee is finding a way to put our work in progress on the website. So that everybody can see what we're doing. We're not trying to hide, but we only recently thought of putting it on the website so that people can see what we've done so far. And it makes sense because we've gone a long way through the bylaws.
So can I ask a question about that though?
Absolutely.
Like, in these pages that we did get, there's a lot of missing pages.
Oh yeah, those are the bylaws that were not related. So, here.
Oh, I see, okay.
I have, and now this is now woefully out of date. Where'd you go? Oh, yeah, right here, of course. Oh, of course I came up with the wrong page. Come here. I'm apparently unable to use my cursor today. I have the entire body of bylaws, and it is 100-something pages long. 137, the last section starts at...
Tommy, get that for your Kindle. You can read that at night when you go to sleep.
Hey, let me
Keyword
tell
for
you.
insomnia right there.
If you're having trouble sleeping,
This'll do it.
Do I have to buy that on the Kindle or is that a freebie?
it says down here somewhere. Oh yeah, it's 153 total pages. But there's more things in here than were in the current bylaws anyway. But we've only added a couple and we've removed a couple, and it just is what it's gonna be.
So the booklet's not gonna be thin anymore, it's gonna
No,
keep
the
getting
book
thicker,
is
yeah.
not going to be thin.
So what I'll do is, once you get us those, then what I'll do is I'll send it out to everybody and ask for everything in writing back, and then that way we can send it off to you.
Marvelous.
That work?
And if you'd like to have another discussion,
We will.
you know I'm happy to come and talk to you folks.
It will have to be before we start the budget, because we
Well,
don't want this.
That's always the that's what stopped bylaw review last year.
Yep.
It's,
Yep.
we get it. We all have to work through what we've got for time. That's okay. Can I help you with anything else this evening?
Everybody all set? I think you're off the hook for now.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna stop sharing. Because I'm running the Zoom, I'll just stay here and,
Okay.
stay as quiet as I
Can
can.
we switch seats by chance, just so that I don't...
Absolutely.
I don't wanna have it back to me as I'm trying to talk about these transfers.
This is my iPad, because I need it for my emails.
I don't want you to start. I'll take it PC, just so I don't have, I don't wanna
Because
have
we got
things...
Because I'm easy to kick out, I know.
You can,
Look at me when I'm talking versus looking at my,
You know what?
have them behind me. Ugh.
if you want, you can unplug the pink one, and when I need it, plug the little switch. How about that?
That's good. Because I had the same, so.
Yeah,
it's
I
got
don't,
no juice.
they don't stay very well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's the only way I keep it for my own, because Tim won't use it.
That's all right. Transfer still.
Yep. And I got the little pink hippo on it, so he won't use it. Whatever it takes to keep my stuff. Okay,
That's why I have these glasses, no one steals them.
I love them. I'll steal them.
Cindy hasn't taken them?
Nope,
What number are those?
they're 2.5,
Oh, that's a little too
but
strong
I
for me.
can't see without them on, so it's impossible.
I got about 100 of these things, they're different magnification, just because I lose them as quick as I get them, so they're all over my house, and my car, everywhere, and work. They're great, but
Grab them at the dollar store.
they break quickly.
That's
but
where I
they-
get them.
That's why I get them too, for $1, yeah, how can you lose?
Why not?
That's what these are, I think these ones are a little bit more steady, don't break as easy, but it's just like kids.
I require these too often. I need to go through and get them. I'll wait till they come back.
Did you bring, you must have all the transfer requests, I didn't bring them with me, but I know them all.
I was expecting a notebook full of them for you.
No, I didn't, I just brought all your questions, the answers to the questions you gave me, assuming you didn't have any other questions on the other ones, so.
Hey,
I know the answers to most of them anyway, though.
These are all
There's only one that I have some doubt with, so.
Pete sent a message and said, "Good job, Peter and committee."
Who is that from?
Thank you, Pete.
From Pete.
he's on medication.
Oh,
You
man.
can't listen to him.
Yeah. Is that any rugs?
He's on
Does he know?
medication. Just wait. It's how you close them down, I think, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Because I know this much on how to use one of these.
Okay.
Ask your kids.
I don't know.
They have Google Docs. They love it. All the
I
kids
don't
love
like
Google Docs. That's how we got into it, was because, Mike. So, okay, so we have a meeting next Thursday at this location at 6 o'clock. Seth Knight, the fire chief, has requested to come in and speak to us about CARES Act funding, FEMA reimbursement, and town meeting articles. We're gonna have quorum
I'll be here.
Is it next Thursday?
next Thursday. How about you, Tim?
I'm not sure at this point.
Okay, how about you? Next Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanna make sure. Okay, we received a bill for $180 for, to join the Association of Town Finance Committees. This is something we join because you can go to the annual Town Finance Committee meetings. They haven't had one since COVID started, but it's where we get the Finance Committee. We can go to MMA, to the Town Finance Committee, to use that as a resource. We budget it. And I know I've used it, I know Pete's used it. So last year we were using it quite a bit when we were going through stuff. So, I'd like to make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Okay, Tamika, can you look at Pete, because I'm gonna call his name. Pete,
Yeah.
are you okay with this? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
All right. He can't speak. Ted.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're Tony.
I know, it's hard sometimes.
Both start with a T and they're 3 letters.
There you go.
I am in favor of that.
Okay, Alex.
Sure.
Okay, Lynn.
Yes.
Are we voting? I had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So, didn't I see something in one of these papers that we had to come up with some more money for our budget? I don't remember which one. There's so many emails. I can't.
There's-
Yeah, there's a ton of.
There is one on the transfers.
But we have enough money to pay this one?
That was, this is last year. That's not this year. This is this year.
Transfers are last year's budget.
Oh, okay, never mind. Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay. And Narwhal is in favor, so it's all in favor. Where do I sign on this? I've never had to do this
Top
before.
right-hand corner, it says department head, committee
Wow,
member.
this is important stuff.
And also Pete said that he will be able to attend next Thursday.
Oh, great. Do I need to send this in, or will you be able to send it in for me?
No, I can drop
Either
it
way,
off.
either way, you tell me, because I can always send it.
No, that's fine. I'll drop it off. I have the invoice at home. I'll attach for Dan.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem.
All right. So now we're gonna go through these transfers. Now, the first one, there was one that wasn't supposed to be signed. Which one is that one?
Pay for the select board secretary.
Okay,
Just drop that doing.
okay,
Oops, oh, there you go.
there we go. Okay. So guys, I'm gonna read them. If that's acceptable, or if somebody else would like to read it, you tell me what you guys wanna do. I don't care.
What was the one that was just ripped? Sorry, I missed that.
It's one that we don't need to sign,
Okay.
because it's not,
It was-
it was written in error.
Okay.
So it's not anything we have to do.
Yeah, but it was the one that listed the,
This is the select board secretary. The money was put into the wrong account, so that's right
You can
there.
read it if you want.
I read them last night,
Yeah.
so I was
But
just
we were
making sure I knew
We
what.
were told we don't need to do that.
That's for 408.
$408, yep. Okay, so this one here is to transfer $199.94 from Select Board Other Charges, of which the balance is $1,706.29, to Select Board Secretary salary, which was negative $199.94. And the reason for this was the training, the extra hours that were put in between having Laura and Erin and Beth.
Correct. So Laura was out, Laura was pregnant.
Hold on
So
one
she-
second, we gotta go, we have to get a second first before we can have discussion.
No?
Second.
Okay. Okay, now, I got,
So Laura was my old secretary. She was here when I first got here. She had, before I even came in, she had a baby. And while she was out, there was coverage. I think actually it was Tamika who covered for her during that time. So that was some extra money. And then we had Erin who came in when she left. And Erin decided to leave, and we had to give Erin some time to train the new secretary, Beth. So that extra training money is what made us go over budget a little bit.
any other discussion? Okay. Pete? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Okay. Alex?
Sure.
You gotta say it out loud.
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tommy?
We don't have to say our name this time?
I'm saying it for you.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Just make sure you
All right.
We'll do it different each time.
Yes.
And Karen, yes, it's approved.
So we have to do the roll call votes because of the remote nature of it?
Yes.
That's the deal.
That's what I thought you had said.
Yep. 4, 5, 6, there were 6 of us. This is where I gotta do math. It's tough on the end of a day.
I think if Darren was gonna be here, he'd be disappointed. He couldn't say his name and
Okay, I do have one question, Pete.
Yes.
If we're on, so we have Zoom available, we have to have a quorum here in person. No, we do not.
You do not.
And how long has that been extended for? Because in the past, you've always needed to have a quorum in the room, and then you can have somebody call in,
Right, so that was until Governor Baker passed his original COVID.
okay?
And then when, the day after that emergency declaration ended, the legislature passed special legislation that extended every one of those measures.
how long?
So nobody has to be in the room.
Okay,
So Karen, what you're referring to is the old remote meeting notice before the COVID thing. That's
Yep.
what you're talking about.
I just wanted to make sure.
So that is until April 1 next year.
Okay,
And so by that time, it is expected that the legislature will completely revamp the open meeting law. At least in terms of local versus remote participation. We'll see.
okay.
They're so good at, that's right. We know they're always exactly timely with passing legislation, so.
Pretty much. Okay.
Okay, so
All right, so the next one is $3,615.45 from town administrator other charges, of which there were $4,637.81 available, to be transferred to town admin salary, which was negative $1868.13, and to town admin exec assistant salary, which was negative $1747.32. Do I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just so you know, the biggest part of that was my salary was different than the previous town administrator's salary. That was the adjustment. That's a contractual obligation. Most of it, and some was the secretary too. It was actually part of our previous discussion.
Hey Pete, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
Alex,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Tommy,
yes,
Lynn,
Yes.
and yes, so they were all good. Okay. Okay, transfer $55.27 from FinCom other charges, which we had $200 in, to FinCom secretary, which was negative $55.27, and that's for additional hours for the Finance Committee Administrative Assistant. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Pete?
It's a go.
Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tommy?
yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Okay, and yes, for me, we're good. All right. $499.42 transferred from Assessor's Purchase Services, which had a balance of $1677.04, to Assessor's Admin Assistant, which was negative $499.42. Additional compensation based on number of work days in fiscal 2021. Go ahead, explain this one, because I don't like your answer.
Okay, well, that is the answer. So at least the answer was given to me anyway. So at the beginning of a fiscal year, the treasurer generally tells all the department heads how many days to budget for in a fiscal year, because they change from year to year, 1 day, 2 days, whatever. In this one, and actually a couple of them, the number was given wrong, or the department budgeted the wrong amount of days and budgeted too short of days, and that's what this is, I understand, is it's 1 day more, I believe, for this one.
No, this one
Is that the
says,
answer I gave you, Karen?
nope, according to the treasurer, it was a 2%
Oh, the
COLA.
COLA, I'm sorry,
That
I'm-
was
I'm
not
sorry.
given but budgeted.
All right, I'm sorry, let me back up, because I'm
So
talking about
that's
a different one.
Given but not budgeted.
So prior to me coming here, when Mike was the town administrator, I guess when the person was hired, the COLA wasn't put in. We have a non-union wage matrix where you're on different steps and stuff, and there's a COLA in that matrix. It was budgeted without the COLA. I don't know why, because it was well before I was there, but once the employee started, we had to give them the extra COLA, and that was the difference of the increase. So all those COLAs are factored in for non-union on what they call a non-union matrix, which shows you the raises from year to year into it. And I don't know why they didn't budget the COLA in this particular department, but they didn't.
Because she was brand new.
What's that?
She was brand new before the new fiscal year. Usually when you start brand new and everybody else who's been there is gonna get an adjustment, you usually don't get that adjustment until the
Well,
following year.
The way they do it here, and you're right, in the private sector.
That's usually how it works.
In the private sector, she's 100% right, that's normally the way it happens. In union contracts and in non-union, in government, if you came in a month before the COLA, you still get the COLA. You get the COLA automatically. The COLA goes with the position, not with the person. That's the difference in government jobs. So because each one is on a matrix, so at that position, wherever it's classified, that gets the raise. So that the position doesn't fall back in terms of its salary. Definitely not the private sector, though.
You start on June 30th, you start the 30th with a COLA. That's,
I mean, in fairness, the COLA is not gonna change your lifestyle.
it doesn't, but it does change. Wait till you see how much of a difference it makes to our budget.
I'm sure I fully understand. I just, Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was talking about Joe's when I thought of it.
Yeah.
You're right, Joe's is the one with the extra day.
Okay, any other discussion?
No, I agree with what you're saying, but I also understand
Yep.
that, you know,
We need a
that,
second.
the-
need a
the
second.
the numbers are so
Did-
low.
Oh, I didn't get, I thought, we got a
Otherwise,
second.
when you
Like
hire
Alex just
candidates,
said.
you're not gonna get them.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I thought I got one.
you're on roll.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I do it all the time. It's like a diet. Hey, Pete?
Thumbs up.
Okay, Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Okay. Transfer $7,194.44 from Town Council Purchase Services, balance left for appropriation is $9,500.09 to Townwide Telephone All Departments, which was negative $71.94.44. Do I have a second?
Second.
Did you get that? Okay, any discussion?
Is this because we didn't end up using town council all that much? We can take that much money away from it?
Well, town council is variable. It depends upon what the legal cases are. So the
Right.
excess money would be, sometimes you might not have enough depending upon what
Yeah.
cases are. So obviously the answer would be yes. We didn't spend the money, so it was left in the account. So at the end of the year, when Dan does his transfers, he looks for money in different accounts with overages and then transfers it to accounts, or underages and transfer it to accounts with overages. That's what he does. I think
We're gonna leave a balance, but that'll end up in free cash.
if any balance is left at the end of the year, they'll go in for cash.
Got it.
This whole issue on the phones was something I explained to you during the budget season, because it was a mess when I came in, and I fixed it in the new year budget, but this is now fixing the last year's budget. I'll only say this, is that I wasn't here to hear the argument, but I think there was two arguments that were made to Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. One is that the existing phone system was terrible, and they had to upgrade it, and there was a lot of good reasons for doing the upgrade. And the second thing is that it would save money. I think the first part of the argument was absolutely right. The second part, I'm told from CM Geeks and from Mike Moriarty and everybody else, that over time it will save us money, but clearly it did
Yeah, you
not save
said
us
that,
money
right.
in this
We're
last year's
supposed to
budget.
save money, is correct.
This is fixed, but I don't know if Mike said that, but some people implied to me he did, and some people implied to me he didn't. But the bottom line is the system had to be changed, so he did the right thing in changing it, but it did cost more money.
We're thankful that he did, because had we not, we would not have had the ability to have anyone work from home and have any kind of
So,
coverage.
and truthfully, the interesting part is because I was trying to learn about this, and I've spent more than enough time on this thing, but one of the things that was interesting in my discovery was that the dispatch has a 911 line that's automatically has caller ID. But if you call in on the general dispatch number, it didn't have caller ID. You would not know where the emergency was. And a lot of people call the general line instead of the 911 line. So they had no record of, where that call was coming from. People could die because they didn't have any way to trace back. Some people go, I have an emergency here, and they hang up.
Yep.
And they had no way to figure out where the call came from. So it was a really critical thing, particularly for dispatch, that they fixed that phone system. But it was a significant upgrade across the board.
Don't laugh. It's not funny.
The phones
That's
were
pretty funny.
The phones were garbage. They were real bad.
But that could have been put on those phones. Those are regular Verizon lines. The trouble with going over the internet for your phones, if the internet goes down, you got no phones. I'm just saying, there's pluses and minuses to all of them. That's right.
Yeah, I know.
So-
You're right. That's a good point. I don't even
You might
think
say
of
you
that.
saved
Sure.
money, but the old Centrex system, it maybe did, but you did a lot of the direct things that it was there. There's things you could have added to, but.
Yeah, if I would have thought of that, I would have
There
put the
wasn't money to
pluses
add
and
to stuff,
minuses
so-
I gave you, but I didn't even
Right,
think of
no,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this,
Internet never goes down, come on.
yeah.
Truthfully, this was the one question you guys gave, that kind of gave me that I hated it because I'm trying to find out information from when I wasn't here, and it makes it really hard to figure it out. So I did the best I could in giving you as much information as I could, but it was a difficult one for me.
Any other discussion? Pete?
He's good.
Okay. Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tommy?
We could just do that?
No.
Oh, yes.
Lynn?
I was being a jerk.
Karen, yes. He has special
I
dispensation.
know.
Okay. Yeah. I like it more than Tommy.
I know.
$307 transfer from town clerk other charges, which had a balance of $450, to town clerk supplies, which was negative $201.08, and town clerk assistant wages, which was negative $106.28. And this is due to overages, additional compensation for assistant clerk salary based on the number of workdays, and the overage of the supplies for the June 28th 28th special election.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
That's the one you already explained.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think we're good.
Everybody good? Okay, Pete?
Yep.
Okay, Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Karen, yes, got it. $759 from Community Hall Supplies, which had $794.09, to Elections Purchase Services, which was negative $759.61. This is needed to cover coding and ballot expenses for the special town election held on June 28th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Okay, Pete?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, it's Anita.
yeah, can I ask you to repeat that, Karen?
No.
Okay.
Transfer of $759.61 from Community Hall Supplies to Elections Purchase Services for cover coding and ballot expenses for the special town election held on June 28th, 2021.
I wasn't aware of that, but I'm sure if Dan put it forward, that's probably what it needs to be done. But I thought that all elections purchase services had been taken care of with the other transfers that I requested earlier of your committee.
Anita, you're absolutely correct. This was brought forward. Dan, we can go back with Dan afterwards, but this is to close out the year. So Dan went to put it there unless it was a negative in the account, but we'll have to go back and talk to Dan about what that was.
Okay.
Do we feel comfortable voting on this, or do we want to wait until after Dan gives us?
We kind of got it because you got to close out the year, but we can talk about
Oh,
what it
yes, we
was.
can.
I know, I guess you can.
Did we just vote on it? No. Oh.
No, she stopped.
Yeah, we held
I know
up.
there was extra expenses.
No,
for
let's just
special
do it.
election.
Okay, I'm just asking. I just want to make sure everyone's comfortable.
How much was it again?
$759.61.
It's not a lot. the scheme of things.
It isn't, but
It's
it's,
not
yeah.
worth holding off on.
The only reason I'm gonna check is I wanna know. You know, I mean, I wanna find out why she didn't know about it. That's the
Okay,
issue.
so Pete,
Yes.
We
Alex,
could approve it and you could figure it out, yes.
Yeah, we'll go back and look and see.
Ted,
Yes.
Tommy,
Not curious
Yes.
anything else.
Lynn,
Yes.
Karen, yes.
Excuse me.
$1,305.96 from Community Hall Purchase Services, which had $5,109.16, to Appeals Clerical, which was negative $253.01, and to Appeals Purchase Services, which was negative $1,052.95. And this is to cover additional hearings by the Board of Appeals in fiscal 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any idea how many additional hearings?
Tamika, you doing it?
You were busy. You've been very busy. I don't know the specific number off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah, because the last couple of years they've been down almost nothing, and
Yeah, which is why
then
the
it
budget
bounced
was
up.
so low, and
Yeah.
now we're seeing a big uptick
Yeah.
in the business.
Yeah. I kind of get it.
We're gonna have a big one this year too, but it's gonna be a legal issue. It's gonna eat my legal account because we got a big issue there.
Okay, any other discussion? Pete?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, and this one has to be. Nobody cares.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah. Okay, transfer of $362.88 from Community Hall Purchase Services, which had a balance of $3,803.20, to Development and Industrial Communication Committee, RDIC Secretary
There you go.
wages, which had negative $362.88. Additional hours for RDIC's administrative assistant due to increase in activity at the RDIC.
Second.
That's an easy one. RDIC has been doing that big housing units we're doing building, and it required a lot more hearings, and even HPDD is having massive amounts of hearings, because you have to do all the land use for that new 55.
You got $12,500 sitting in an account, start spending that.
Well, we are spending that. It's gonna be a combination of a variety of things, but yeah.
I feel like all of these are for me.
We're gonna have legal fees and everything else. Don't worry, that account's gonna get spent.
They're not for you.
Yeah, that account's gonna definitely get spent, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Just get
Okay.
that deal done.
Any other discussion? Okay, take a vote. Pete?
He's good.
Okay, Alex?
Yes.
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 Yes, okay. Transfer $1,077.46 from Community Center Purchase Services, which had a balance of $7,689.85, to Public Safety Building Purchase Services, which was negative $1,077.46. Reason was additional electrical cost in 2021.
Second.
Okay, and we all read the 4 emails from Joe as to the reason.
Joe Buckley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mainly what it is that we had to pay more because the net metering credits were coming later.
That sums it all up, yep.
He's very good and he explains everything, so if you want to know the specifics, he's fantastic at giving us everything. So,
That took a while to put together.
yeah,
$1,700.
so, any other discussion? Okay, Pete?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Transfer $696 from Community Hall Purchase Services, which had a balance of $3,440.32, to Town Report Purchase Services, which was negative $696. Transfer to reflect actual cost of producing town report, which is not really correct. It's 2 years worth of the town report in this fiscal year. Get a second?
Second.
Anyone have any questions? Any other discussion? Pete?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
And Karen, yes. Okay. Transfer $2,647.97 from Building Inspector Clerical, which had a balance of $1,965.50 to and from building inspection supplies, which had a balance of $476.47, and from building inspector other charges, which had a balance of $206, to building inspection purchase services, which was negative $2,647.97. It's an additional cost of the building inspector hired as an independent contractor to replace outgoing building inspector during fiscal year 2021.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so explain what that means.
Okay, so what happens is the former building inspector got very, very sick and resigned in part of the year. And we had no building inspector at all, so the state building inspector, actually we contracted with him to come in and cover the time period when, between him and us trying to find a new building inspector. And that was a significant amount of time because there's not a lot of building inspectors out there. So once the new building inspector came in, there was some training and stuff, but that was basically, it was a number of months where the state building inspector was covering our time.
He wasn't an employee of ours, so
He's a
you pay a higher rate because you're not paying benefits.
Yeah.
Okay?
Plus he's, he's a real good guy. He's a state building official, so you're paying more than a low salary for the guy. He's good.
Makes sense.
Any other, yep, go
And
ahead.
then, so the new guy now, this had to do with the state guy that was here, or the new one
This
that's
is the
under
state guy.
contract? Okay.
It's a one-time expense, basically, sounds like.
What was
Let's
filling the
hope so.
gap of time when he was,
Let's hope so.
and he was at a much higher salary than the building
But
inspector would have been there. Plus the other guy was sick.
if this
for
is
some time.
going to, so, what was it going to?
It's coming from 3 different accounts to the building inspection purchase services.
Yeah, so purchase, so what was there in purchase services?
Him, that he's a consultant, so he's.
Oh, for his, okay, because.
It's his time, it is.
I got you, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Right.
This is a contractual.
Correct.
Okay. Pete,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Karen, yes, okay. $414.48 from Highway OT and Standby, which had a balance of $4,228.59, to Highway Superintendent salary, which was negative $414.48. Additional compensation of Highway Superintendent based on number of working days in fiscal year 2021.
That's the one day.
Reason. Second.
Okay. The estimate that was budgeted for 260 days and should have been budgeted for 261 days. This happens all the time, which is why
Well, it won't happen this year, because we had Becky do it for all the positions. So it shouldn't happen in the
we
current-
will be asking for that in Excel spreadsheet so we can double check it, because this happens too often. This is not the
I
first
don't know
time.
why it would have in the past. I don't know if even they.
We've forgotten leap year, we've forgotten all kinds.
Well, if she did it wrong, she did it wrong for
You
everybody
sit
this
it
time.
with a calendar.
But I think what happened probably in the past, before I was here, department heads put in their days instead of having Karen do it. This year, I had Karen do all the number of
Becky.
days for everybody, so it shouldn't be a
Yeah.
problem, but.
But this way we can just double check it to make sure, so that we don't have these
Yeah,
at the last minute.
What did the town do last year for the additional pay period?
Say it again?
The additional pay period from last year, that happens like once every 14 years?
Well, I don't know, they would have had to, again, what happens is the treasurer collector is supposed to look at that at the beginning of the year and look at the calendar and find out how it does. So she tells the department heads how to do gives them usually it's a formula.
Okay.
How to calculate it for their budget season, for their budget year. So that's what generally happens, and it's what's supposed to happen every year. I sensed, because there was mistakes in the past, that it was done by departments instead of by the treasurer collector. So different departments did it their own ways. They all thought,
Yeah.
you gotta give them the formula up front, as they're calculating their budget. Of course, you can give the formula, somebody could still screw it up, but
Pete,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Tommy,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Karen, yes, okay. Oh, goodness gracious.
are we done? Want to get more?
Do you have to read all that, please?
Yes.
I have to read them all, because it's legal. No, just wait, there's nothing. Transferred from snow and ice plow blades and chains, $2,149. They had balance of $2,149.05. And from machinery and maintenance supplies, $6,044.13, which that was the balance in the appropriation. $11,895.32 from town vehicle fuel, which that was the balance in the appropriation. And transferred $61,321.14 from town health insurance, of which the balance in the appropriation was $62,702.66. That totals $81,409.64 to snow and ice supplies. And that is because the Finance Committee never allows him to budget the appropriate amount that they need. Do I have a second?
Second.
That is the only budget line we're allowed to deficit spend, so that's, we get cut. Any discussion? Pete?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Okay. $6,985.93 from Highway Purchase Services to, which they had $9,084.11 in the appropriation, to Streetlight Purchase Services, which was negative $6,985.93. Additional cost of electricity in 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, that goes all back to those emails from Joe. Net metering credits. Pete?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Okay. $2,423 from highway wages, which had a balance of $18,902.35, to town garage purchase services, which had a balance of $2,423.05. That,
It's gotta be minus, right?
yeah, I was gonna say that's a mistake. It's,
What's the transfer for? I'm trying to remember what that one
this
was.
is additional cost of electricity.
Oh,
So this is the present balance in the above appropriation. Anyway, it's not important.
It's got a typo in it, that's.
Yeah, it's got a typo, so we just need to fix it. Additional cost of electricity. Again, this goes back to Joe's emails.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Pete?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Okay. I think that's it. Oh, no, we have minutes.
Yeah.
We have minutes. We have the minutes from the bylaw subcommittee, not bylaw, the legislative subcommittee.
was that the meeting you had with the legislators? Is that what you mean by that? Mm-hmm. Okay. What's a legislative subcommittee?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Now, I got a question.
Yep.
Can only people that were there vote on it?
Yep.
So we don't end up, well, we got 3 of us that went
Well-
there.
See, I don't think that's 100% correct myself, but we're voting to put that minutes into our record, that's all we're doing.
You're
We're not-
attesting to the accuracy of them.
Well, somebody can, but the accuracy comes from the person that wrote the notes, and as long as it's accurate, it's accurate.
I voted the minutes be accepted.
Alex made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay,
He was there.
okay, Pete,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Tommy,
Yes.
Oh, it was
Okay.
4?
accepted.
Thought it was only 3 of them.
No, there was 4. That's the reason why we had to do everything, because
Yep,
the minute you
there
have a
wasn't
quorum.
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, and then we have the September
16.
16th minutes, sorry. I forget I can't open the agenda here because I need to print it and I never do. So can I get a motion to, something with the minutes for the September 16th, to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes from September 16th.
Yes. Yep, second.
Tamika sent them.
1, 2, 7, looking at them.
They're on the Google Drive too.
They're on the Google Drive.
I'm having problems with
Yeah,
Google
yeah,
Drive.
yeah. Okay, so Pete was there. So Pete,
He's good.
okay, Alex,
Yes.
I was not.
not there. So Ted has to abstain. Tommy, you here?
Yes.
You were.
Yes.
Yes, and Karen, yes, okay. Is that the only things that are on the agenda?
Yep.
Okay, So I guess, is there any other discussion, or I'll entertain a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, just
Uh-oh.
if
I'm
it,
sorry, did you want to mention the meeting on the 14th with the select board? You told me to remind you about that.
Thank you, yes, okay, the 14th.
so I just want to make one comment, Madam Chairman, if it's okay.
Sure.
It's just a general informational kind
Sure.
of thing. So we provided you with a quarterly detailed report. I think you got it today or yesterday. We got it to you. So I had a long talk with Becky about this, and we're going to provide it to you on a more regular basis. I watched kind of part of your last meeting, and it was fascinating. I almost wish I was at the meeting because I could have answered a lot of questions that were kind of pop up. And I said to Karen, she did a very good job at answering questions within her ability, but I wish I had been here because there was a lot of things that I could have answered easier than Karen could have answered. But I just want to put this right, and I'm not sure. It's my understanding there's going to be some discussion with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee about line items and looking at those reports, right? So I'm just going to give you my thought, and you guys can do what you want with it. So I get those reports on occasion, and to me, truthfully, those reports don't help me a hell of a lot until you get down to the third quarter, okay? Because as bills come in throughout the year, in the very beginning of the year, you don't get many bills in, so the numbers are low. And you'll see what will happen is each quarter, you'll see the percentage of the total spend get higher and higher, right? But it's almost meaningless because you don't know the timing of when bills come in. Sometimes bills come in at the beginning of the year, sometimes they come in at the end of the year. So it's very difficult to get really any meaning out of those reports. Where I spend a lot more time looking at that report is when we get to the third quarter. Because then a lot of the expenses are coming in, and now when I'm looking to see, do I have any problems in my line item, or do I have extra money in my line item? Because now I'm looking at the end of the year, and my department heads are looking closer too to make sure that if they need to do any transfers in that last quarter, that's when they start analysis. So it was my understanding there was going to be some discussion and some analysis of that account with the Board of Selectmen. I would say this to you. We just gave you the report from, I think, June to August or something, right?
June through September.
Yeah, that to me, that doesn't help as much. If you want to really analyze, and again, I don't know the value of this because I have my own opinion, but if you really want to analyze any report to understand the budget situation, it's the last quarter. You want to look at the last quarter report. What happens from July 1 till August is not as, it's not as meaningful until you get to that last quarter. So if you're trying to analyze the line items, that would make a lot more sense to focus on the last quarter. So looking at last year's last quarter would help you more. Now I'll say this to you, and take it for what it's worth. I think last year when we went through the budget, we all agreed that the budgets were as tight as hell and we were having a hard time figuring out what to cut, right? I don't think the problem is within the line items of the town budget. I don't think that that's our budget problem in our town. Because if anything, those line items, particularly, and I'll say it really clearly, DPW, in my opinion, is way underfunded, okay? So, analyzing the line items, I just don't see a lot of value in it because there's not a lot of money in there, and we all agree that there's not enough money in there, not too much. So I don't see that as valuable use of your time. Your choice if you want to do that. I don't care. I'm just saying it doesn't make as much sense to me because we all know what the real problem is. The real problem is the school budget and how that impacts our town. We are, the good news is that, last year, it was kind of weird for me because I was relatively new, but I engaged all the town administrators in a lot of discussion about the school budget and rounded them up and tried to get them to come to put pressure on the school system to do a more reasonable budget. And I felt weird because I'm the new guy on the block, but I was organizing it. What is good, what has come out of that after the fight of last year, and it was really, if you think about what happened, we started with 961,000 increase and it went down to like 400 or something. So that's like a $300,000 difference. Think about the impact of that on the town budget. Is outrageous, the impact, right? And I understand the political nature of the school district is saying, okay, let's ask for as much money as we can possibly get and then we'll work our way down. And I get that, but the problem is the way we do our budget. When they put out that high number, all of a sudden we're reacting to that high number. We're cutting town expenses because we recognize that the town, what I've been told really clearly here is that the annual town meeting, that the school system comes in, they get the teachers in and they rework and they pass the budget beyond us, right? So the good news I think this year is that all the town administrators and representatives of all the Board of Selectmen are starting early and already meeting to talk about the budget and trying to look at a different strategy. And that's why I say, I like you guys, and I don't know what the terminology was, felt very thrown under the bus last year because of the way the budget process works. With the way the school system works and gives the budget, with the way free cash was, it was just a difficult year to deal with it, and we all suffered from it. And it was, and the variations were at the end, we're hard to even figure out what variation. I have so many goddamn copies, it's hard for me to figure out what the last variation. I asked the town clerk to give me the last variation because I had so many different ones. I was confused as to which one was the last one, right? So I got it from the town meeting and went back. But it was the process in my mind was dreadful, and I've never been through that kind of a broken process before. So I'm gonna be looking to do it differently this year as well, because I don't wanna revisit that. I don't know that the new way I'm gonna do it, I don't know if it's gonna be any solution, but if anything, it's gonna set back how we do our cuts until after town meeting, more or less. Although we're gonna have to discuss it before town meeting, but we're not gonna get crazy about it until after town meeting. Obviously, we're gonna have to plan, but.
That's the reason.
But we're gonna have to plan, but I'll be damned if I go to another staff member and say, you know what, we might have to lay you off in a couple of weeks. And I had to do that to like 5 different employees last year. You guys hate the budget process. How do you think I feel when I have to go to those department heads and say, you know what, we're gonna cut you out of the budget, and if we can find money, we'll put it back in and we'll save you. And that's what I was doing, and morale I did to my employees was dreadful. And as much as you guys hated the process, I hated it even more because I'm the one that has to do that. So I'm not doing it this year. We're not going through that and torturing our employees that way anymore. So I think that, when we get close to budget season, we are gonna have another conversation between me and you guys to structure this in a way and to have a better process than what we had last year. And we're not gonna cater to the school board's process anymore. We're not living by their process, we're gonna do our own and structure it in such a way that we're not destroying this town. Now, in this meetings that I'm having, the good news is that I think the other towns are coming aboard in a different way, especially Holden. Holden is already talking about an override for next year, and they don't wanna do it. Now, even the smaller towns, Sterling and Princeton, are more engaged with us this year, even though frankly they can afford the increases more than we can because there's such a small budget. The issue has always been us and Paxton, and Holden was kind of on its own, and then the other 2 small towns were on their own. This year, we're trying to bring everybody on the same path, and I think that will help. The problem that towns have is the same problem we have. That is, there's a lot of teachers in this district, and at town meeting, the numbers are so small. Who turns out at town meeting is all the teachers are geared up and line up. So Holden, when they get to town meeting, they have a hard time winning that vote, just like we do, because the deck is stacked. So in order to do that, we need to start our public discussion, let's say, earlier, and educate the public earlier, so that is not an unreasonable or an unbalanced fight. Karen's nodding because she knows what I'm talking about now. So that discussion, I think you're gonna see a lot of discussion about this prior to the school system releasing its first number. Because once that first number is released, it's too late. So we gotta discuss that school budget prior to that number being released. Now, these are opening discussions. We haven't made full decisions yet, but we're definitely way many months ahead of where we were last year. And I'm hoping, if nothing else, the school board and the school administration understand that this is gonna be a different type of battle and a different type of discussion, and hopefully we won't get ourselves in a situation. Now, Karen, this is the one time where I understand your pessimism, because we know the game, we know what's happening, I
The
understand.
selectmen and the finance committee of every single town understands the thing. The problem is the taxpayers make the vote.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they make the vote, so we can do everything we can do, but we have to be prepared for when the
but-
taxpayers decide to go with what the school says.
And you're 100% right, but we have to do a better job at educating the public as to the impact on the town budget.
And I think last year we did
We did a better job,
a
much better.
really good job
But
with
the
it.
problem last year, what you just said is, we started way too late. Before we got numbers, we've never started, that's the latest one that I remember, we ever started working on the budget. And it's just, it's bigger than a snowball by then.
No, I totally agree. And
We've
you probably-
always started way early, and the earlier we can start, the better. We've
that's-
tried to start in November sometimes, we just don't have enough information to keep
I understand.
Going until after the first of the year, probably.
You're absolutely right, and it's hard because you can't, under the normal situation is you need their number to put your budget to make your budget work. This year, we're not gonna wait for their number, we're gonna create the budget without their number, and we're gonna put our own number in.
Well,
And
and
then,
they've given us,
then we'll work from there instead of just waiting for this
but
ridiculous number.
we've done that before too. We've worked with a number that we can work with, and they come in with them. I agree with, that's what you're saying, that's right. I mean,
But we gotta fight it, and I gotta be honest with you.
absolutely.
This year, I feel better because I've had some time here. Last year, literally, I was thrown into this with not much time, so I feel
We
better about
tried
the
warning
process.
you.
Well, the Board of Selectmen did too, and I don't think
We
I
tried
listened to the
warning
Board
you.
of Selectmen as well as I should have, but I understand. So, listen, we're gonna work together. And I think it'll be easier for us to work together this year than it was last year, because it was just, everybody was kind of new to everything, so I think we'll be better. And even me and Karen, truthfully, we started off pretty contentious, and at the end, I thought we got along pretty well and did some things together, so I think it improved as we got used to each other. So we're gonna have the same situation, and I'm not gonna lie to you, you know me, if those of you who've met me and have met me, I'm pretty aggressive, but I have a plan. I gave you $800,000 worth of cuts and stuff. I wasn't sitting there
Yep.
not helping you, I was trying to give you
Yep.
and make it as easy as possible for you. So, and truthfully, that's still my job, is to try to make it as easy as possible for this committee. But the good news is that we are in a better position this year than last year, because we're already $300,000 ahead of where we were. Well, 280 or whatever, because free cash, we're only using 130 versus 410. So that itself helps.
Depending upon what we do at the special town meeting.
Well, we gotta see what the free cash is gonna be, but Dan's telling me it's gonna be pretty good, so.
That's good.
So we'll see. The question there is, frankly, when we see that number, I sent out an email to all of you today, and I sent it out to the Capital Improvement Committee, but really I copied you on because it's a joint effort, right? I sent out, if you remember, I gave you guys, everybody was here, 5-year capital plans last year, which is just a capital plan of what all my departments requested. We're gonna have to build that plan outward with other things. But I had a facilities management plan done of all the town buildings to look at what the needs in terms of capital items and repairs of those buildings were. Today I sent you, if you look at the capital, each building in this capital facilities management plan, it shows you the immediate needs of fixing the building right away, and then it has a 10-year capital plan of the bigger things. I sent out to the Capital Improvement Committee just all the immediate needs, the first things we have to do for every town building. And I think it came out to like 468 grand of immediate needs. That's not even fixing the buildings in a long-term way, but just trying to get the buildings so they're not broke, the immediate repairs are fixed. So then it's gonna go to, the discussion about free cash when we get it. How do we spend free cash? And I've told numerous department heads already that my focus this year is not gonna be on capital equipment, it's gonna be on buildings, because we gotta get our buildings fixed. We can't just let them deteriorate. So you're not gonna see my department's proposing a new truck, a new car. We've gotta take care of the building part. So whatever free cash we have, I wanna make that focus on how do we get our buildings to at least be okay. So that was my whole point of sending that out today, is folks start thinking about how we wanna prioritize those immediate repairs. And Joe's gonna look at them, and Joe's gonna give me his recommendations of the 468, the order of what he thinks we should do them, right? But I wanted the finance committee to see that, because I want you guys to start thinking about, I want the capital improvement committee to start thinking about it, I want the select board to start thinking about it, because I'd be damned if this study I did sits on the shelf and nothing happens with it. We paid for the study through a grant, we have a great report, now we have to follow up and do something with it. Now, secondarily to that, I met with the capital improvement committee and said, we have to start looking at a long-term bonding package, okay? So what happens is the town has debt service, right? And you want that debt service to stay level, okay? Because if you let the debt service fall and the debt falls off, then taxes go down, and all of a sudden you have a new bond package and taxes skyrocket. So you try to keep your borrowing level. So we're starting to see debt fall off. So we need to quickly put together a bond package. And I don't know what the number is going to be, but for instance, the school department is looking to fix the parking lot in the quag and in the middle school. If you've been over there, the parking lots are shot, and that's a big capital repair. The lease agreement says anything over $35,000 the town is responsible for. So we need to put together a bond package, and this is what I talked about the capital improvement committee, a bond package of the larger school things that we need to do and the larger town things that we need to do, pick our priorities and put together a bond package that we can put out there that's not too high, that makes the taxes go right up, but that keeps it more level in terms of our spending. So explain that to the Capital Improvement Committee, and I really got it. The Capital Improvement Committee needs to step up. They really need to do more planning and more thinking than just, I think they're used to, oh, we only have a little bit of free cash, let's give you a couple of top items that we have, and that's it. That's the way they've been operating. They have to do a lot more. They have to really start planning and thinking about how we meet the long-term building needs of this. That was my first step, just so you understand why you got what you want. Start thinking about that, because that's the path that I'm going to be pushing going forward. And let's assume, let's take a guess, we have $600,000 in free cash. Maybe we say, you know what, $300,000 we're going to do a buildings, and we're going to hold the other 300 grand because we don't know what's going to happen with the budget or whatever. We're going to have to make some decisions, but some amount of free cash has got to go to fixing the buildings, at least the immediate repair part of the buildings. Does that make sense?
You need to make sure you look at the financial and debt policies that the selectmen and the finance committee sign, so that we put the appropriate amounts of money into the
Well, we got to,
places
what
that
she's
we.
suggesting is, the policy says that 5% of free cash, before you do anything else, 5% goes into your capital stabilization account, 5% goes into stabilization, and 5% goes to OPEB. So, yeah, whatever
We gotta
free
make
cash
sure
is,
we
that's
do
our
that.
first three things before we talk about anything else, right? But even then, we want to leave some amount of money. I want to have a little bit of money just in case we run into some unforeseen budget problem. But then truthfully, if we don't and we have that money, it's okay to roll it over into next year and make free cash better. So that's the strategy thinking about moving forward. But this is the beginning of it, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about, but I'm trying to get everybody on the same page in their thought process so that we know what the hell we're doing going forward. Okay?
See that, Tamika? You said one more thing.
I am going to just say one thing in regards to why we're looking at the expenses. The reason why the select board and the finance committee is looking at the expenses is so that we are doing more proactive rather than reactive. So that way we understand more of what hits those lines instead of waiting to ask at budget time. So that way we're more familiar.
Can I go back on the
Go ahead.
dates that we just talked about? Oops, you said something, about the 21st?
No, the 14th.
The 4th, okay, so we're meeting next week
We're meeting next week with Seth
here
here. The
then-
14th will be at the select board.
at Select Board, okay.
Yep, they're gonna have tables, we will not be sitting in chairs, we're gonna have tables so that it's a round table, where we're all gonna be looking at stuff together.
Okay,
And then from there, don't know.
okay, we don't have any other meetings after that. So the next 2
I'm
weeks.
not saying we're not gonna have
Oh, no,
any.
no, I understand that. I'm
I don't
saying
know
this-
of any of them yet.
We know of 2 right now, the
Right.
7th and the 14th.
If Ron has his way, we're gonna know what free cash is by the 21st, so we can start hitting that all up, so.
There you go, this is the debate. Let's see who, it's the optimist and the pessimist on
There you
each
go.
end of the table. Hey, could you just say, what is Seth asking town meeting about already? What's his asking for town meeting?
I don't know,
He didn't tell you what it was?
nope, and I didn't ask him.
I didn't know what it was either. You said it, I went, huh? What the hell is he talking about?
I think he wants to give some heads up about town meetings, town meeting warrants, I don't
He
know.
didn't tell you yet? Okay.
Nope.
I was like puzzled when you said
Nope.
this, like he didn't tell me either. I was like, what's he talking to you guys? He didn't tell me. All right, that's cool. Thank you, everybody.
So, anything else?
So moved.
No, you have to make the
Move to
motion.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Peter. Good night, Peter. Good night.
Good. Alex?
Got it.
Ted?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Karen?
Hooray.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.